Hi y'all, so back here in the episode of Indigo Podcast today. Got a couple things I want to go over, 3 different things, so we're just gonna get straight into it. First thing, 10K prep update, just basically how it's been going so far. I mean, it's been cool. I ain't gonna lie, like a lot of my runs, like I've been feeling kind of stiff for some reason, and I ain't gonna lie, it's probably because I haven't been stretching at night, like doing static stretching. So static stretching, if you don't know, is like when you're not like moving. So like you're not doing an A skip or a B skip. So I'm gonna get to that later because I wrote that a bit later in my notes, but I ain't gonna lie, I just wanted to bring that up because it's been good, but overall it's felt okay. It's not better than half marathon prep in terms of how I felt. Like, cause in half marathon prep, bro, I felt like I was just honestly on top of the world. Like, I just felt like I was floating on a lot of those workouts. With these, like, I have to kind of get into it more, which is probably because, I'm unk now, I guess. But seriously though, I think stretching, which I'm gonna get into later, has made a big difference. The first thing, like I just foreshadowed a bit, workouts have been ahead of pace. And I mean, in terms of obviously pace, minute per mile pace, it's been ahead of what I was doing in half marathon prep, which is cool to see, just seeing fitness up built overall, And other thing I want to go over too is where I want to peak for mileage. So this is around 40 to 45 miles, probably 45, knowing me, I'm going to hit the higher end. I'm coaching this prep myself, obviously Coach Dunn, my GOAT. I coached the half marathon later in the year. I don't know if I mentioned I'm gonna do half later in the year. I think I did that. It was like episode 112, preparing for the new year. I mentioned that. So for this one, the mileage is obviously lower since the distance of 10K, 6.2 miles is less of a distance. So the peak will be lower. So that's where I want to peak for mileage. And obviously I kind of foreshadowed too. My mom's texting me, LOL, shout out my Dukes. Next thing that I want to mention is just stretching. And I noticed just the one day I did it, because I obviously need to be consistent with it, just like with anything, to see actual results and benefits. So just off that one day, made my run feel a little bit better. I noticed a bit of a difference. And on top of that, I could do Epsom salt baths and stuff like that, things of that nature. But those are the 3 things, like a little mini update of the 10K prep, because I ain't gonna lie, this one isn't as publicized as the last one. I guess is a good word, because I'm not really recording the workouts. But honestly, I'm a very introverted person. Like, I love talking to people. Like, obviously I'm posting myself right now, but naturally I'm very to myself. So I ain't gonna lie, I don't really like recording it unless someone else is recording me. That's just me, but some people like recording it. But the next section I want to go over is, this one's a little bit deeper than 10K prep. I always try and include like philosophical, like, just real life stuff. Cause I mean, I feel like a lot of us deal with these things on a human level, so I think it's important for someone to talk about it. So second thing, section 2, is hustle culture. So what is hustle culture exactly? So definition, got this off of Google, not gonna lie, I didn't make this out of thin air, but the definition is hustle culture, also known as burnout culture, refers to the mindset that success is achieved through relentless work, sacrifice, and self-discipline, and promotes the idea that busyness relates to progress, encouraging long working hours, multitasking, side hustles, often blurring the line between work and personal life. So going off of this list and just what I put on my notes, I think this has pros and cons, because obviously you see here things like self-discipline, relentless work, sacrifice, that's needed for growth in life and success. But the thing is, there's diminishing returns. There's things that, anything in life, you can do too much of it. You can go to extremes, and I've gone to extremes before, and I know that once you go to those extremes, you just get burnt out, and you feel like you're doing the right thing because you're being consistent, but you're being consistently wrong, So there's a lot of pros in this list and this definition provided, but there's also a lot of cons, So a blurring in between with work and personal life. I mean, you're not going to be as present, which I kind of went over last episode. So I think you can take a nuance and take bits and pieces and, manipulate this definition to, things that will work for you. But at the same time, you have to be aware and be wary of the cons. There's obvious cons here because it can bleed into your personal life and just become all consuming, So this question I have here is more always better? So not necessarily. I mean, I'm going to use running for example. I mean, obviously you take someone who just got started into running and you add more mileage over time, consistently at a sustainable rate, they're going to probably see more progress because, they're getting newbie gains and there's more stimulus being applied. And, if you're sleeping enough, eating well, hydrating enough, stretching like I wasn't doing, you're probably going to see results. It may be slow, but you're going to see results, right? So a lot of people take the same ideology and the same concept and apply it to everything in life, and they don't really understand diminishing returns. And I was in that same boat, you know what I'm saying? I was very naive and I was just applying more. And I'm like, why am I not getting more out of it, Prime example, I'm gonna give you all a little story time real quick. So join my TED Talk for a second. So it was cross country season. And the summer I was doing my thing, like I was steadily progressing. And then I hit the period of diminishing returns because I was lifting like an idiot, I ain't gonna lie. Cause I was lifting 5 days of my own and 2 days in track period. And in track period, I was going like to failure on dang near every set, right? And I'm doing the same thing on my own on top of hitting like 42 miles at my peak, you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to overreach your running because I'm saying I would always pick the highest mileage. Nothing wrong with that, but you know, you're lifting 7 days a week on top of that. That doesn't really meld well. So I was doing that and I was just trying to hustle. I don't know why. I mean, because I feel like that was my first year of like seeing some actual athletic improvements. So I took that and I was trying to run with it. I was just trying my hardest, which is good, but I was shooting myself in the foot at the same time, you know? So take all that knowledge I just said and all that experience I just threw at you. Pretty much more isn't always better. And I think a lot of people think that, oh, I got to work more. Oh, I got to work overtime all the time. And they're burning themselves out. I mean, sometimes you're going to have to sprint life. I've said this many times, but when you're just hustling and out hustling yourself, you're low-key cooked. You know what I'm saying? So just keeping that in mind. But last thing to sum this part up is, well, how do we avoid hustle culture? I mean, how am I going to tell you, oh, don't indulge in hustle culture, but what am I going to do about it? You know what I'm saying? So here's some tidbits, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to leave you hanging. Being okay with imperfect, consistent outcomes, not being scared of breaks, and not tying all your self-worth to your life projects. So first thing, the being okay with imperfect thing, I'm not going to read all that, I'm not going to hold you, but I'm naturally a perfectionist. I naturally just want everything to be done immediately. I naturally just want things to be organized and yada yada. The thing is, in the real world, that does not work. That's not how life works, you know what I'm saying? And honestly, it's kind of a closed-minded way to look at things, I mean, and I think it just kind of ties you in a box in a sense, you know? You're like, oh, it has to be this way, you know what I'm saying? And if any person tells me, oh, maybe you're doing this a bit wrong, or maybe this is a better way to do it, you're like, no, you know what I'm saying? You get defensive, you're like, nah, like, I know what I'm doing, I'm not gonna change, you know what I'm saying? And I realized that in life, you have to change to grow, you know what I'm saying? You have to change, you know, your routines, methods, your ideologies, how you think sometimes, you know, to grow and just see life on a wider scale, you know. But you don't have to be perfect to see success at all. I'm saying you don't have to have everything optimized. You don't have to have everything just crystal clear. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be clear cut. It doesn't have to be just perfect. I just think that's where a lot of people kind of miss out. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people kind of get misconstrued as to what they're doing because they're trying to make everything optimized and everything just perfect, you know? And I think if you focus more on consistency, obviously not being consistently wrong and just doing just dumb stuff over and over again, like me lifting 7 days a week during cross-country season because it's cross-country season for a reason. You should have been focused more on running. I just think, yeah, just being okay with being imperfect because, I mean, perfection can be paralyzing. You know, I've kind of talked about that before, but you're never going to have it all figured out and you're never going to be perfect, but you can get kind of close, you know what I'm saying? I'll put it that way. You can get kind of close and you can get very consistent. So that's the first thing. But the next thing I got here is not being scared of breaks. I ain't gonna lie. Like, cause the thing, I'm gonna use running again, is just a very natural example for me. And the thing is, like, let's say after cross country season, you got the 2-week break and I'd be dreading the breaks. I'm like, bro, like I'm not running. Like, and honestly, I tied a lot of my self-worth to that. And I was like, oh, if I'm not running, if I'm not out there, like, what are people gonna think? Are people gonna think I'm flaking? Reality, people don't really worry about you as much as you think. I mean, that sounds kind of like messed up. In reality, it's kind of a good thing in a sense because you're like, okay, like I'm just doing my thing. And at the same time, you know, it kind of gives you grace to just accept yourself, you know. So I think with hustle culture too, your values and your worth is in the wrong things. Things that honestly, you know, when it's time for us to all go, they will not be there. You know what I'm saying? People are gonna remember you for how you made them feel and what you did and just your legacy, you know. And I mean, people probably won't be so worried about, oh, like after cross country season, you took a 2-week break. You know what I'm saying? They're going to think about just your character and who you were as a person and just the things you did for other people and how you service people, you know. I think this goes into not tying all your self-worth to your life projects. 'Cause, you know, I love editing videos. I love objectives and things you want to do in life. I mean, it's very valid. I mean, obviously you just want to take the fun out of life. It's kind of boring. But at the same time, if you tie all your identity, all your self-worth to it, let's say you get injured, right? Very prevalent in running culture and just running, you know, as a whole, you're going to get injured eventually, probably. It may be minor, major, whatever the case may be. And when you're injured, you know what I'm saying, you can't run, you know what I'm saying, unless it's just, you know, minor, like I said. And if you tie all your self-worth to it, your whole vitality, your whole emotional state will be cooked. 'Cause you're like, dang, what am I gonna do with my life? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, I guess you could think of this in another way too, like, because one thing I think about a lot is, a lot of people that are really talented, I'm saying, and really successful, they have other things they do, I'm saying, that they lean into. But they probably have that one thing they're like really good at, but they probably have things that they kind of do. I'm saying, like, little projects. Like for me, I would say, got running, and then, lifting, and then editing videos, and then school, and then podcasting, so I guess that kind of switches it up, and it gives you things to lean on. Let's say you're injured, right? And you can edit a video, or you can record a podcast, or you can, study philosophy or something, So I don't know, I just think I've definitely tied my self-worth to my life projects and just things I'm doing in this life I'm living right now. And I just realized that, like I said, your legacy and how you make people feel and just your character, it stands above all of that, and it speaks volumes, But last section I got here is finding purpose in life. So this kind of goes with the concept of happiness and virtue, going back to philosophy class, because I ain't gonna lie, I like that. Like I said, I like the class a lot. You don't want to get like all monk and like, oh, like I can't do nothing, I can have no fun. Because like with nutrition, for example, like people like, oh, what can I eat? Like I know too much now. Obviously, you want to be knowledgeable, but you don't want to scare yourself, like you don't want to just live in fear. But other than that, this concept is from Aristotle. So based on his own interpretation, happiness is not a fleeting or extended state of pleasure. Instead of its flourishing, English is hard, and being excellent at the quote unquote thing you are, or well, he said kind of thing you are. So 3 statements that sum up this lecture, in my opinion, is there must be a final reason or final goal for why we do all things. Our final goal must be complete, aka have value, and our final target must be self-sufficient. Question is though, how do we find our purpose? So this is 2 main things. In my opinion, obviously, this can vary from person to person. First thing, taking an audit of your current life and connecting it to where you think you want to go. Because, one exercise we did in the class was, I think it was 12 months, like things you want to do like in a year span, and things you want to do in 5 years. So with that, it's honestly an audit, It's just a different way of doing it, I guess. And if you take an audit of your life, you see things that may or may not be helping you reach your goals and reach your quote unquote happiness. I just think it's important to see, okay, where am I spending my time and what things am I doing that honestly don't serve me well at all? You know what I'm saying? And discarding them, and being okay with discarding them, and being okay with not having to explain yourself, for letting things go, Because I think like with social media, there's so many opinions, there's so many ideologies, there's so many just ways of life, and sometimes you may feel obligated to stick to that, you know what I'm saying? Because echo chambers do exist, You have people that try and force things onto people that honestly don't serve them at all, And I think taking an audit of your current life helps you just discard stuff that you may have heard that really doesn't serve any use to you, and you can let it go and be okay with letting it go, you know what I'm saying? Because I think if you're trying to be consistent, trying to get after things in life, like you may think, oh, like, I don't know why, like you may have a tendency to hold on to extra baggage, maybe that's just a hot take, I don't know, but that's just kind of how I've experienced it. And you kind of don't like give yourself the grace to let things go, and you try and hold on to everything because you think, oh, like I'm just being consistent, But in reality, if you let these things go, you can grow and evolve. Because the thing is, we never really know what our end purpose is. We're kind of guessing, you know what I'm saying? We're taking the best educated guess. That's my opinion. Having conviction and having, just trusting your intuition, because I think a lot of people will tell us how to think, how to eat, what to do. A lot of it is merited. A lot of it's good advice, but at the same time, you have to experiment and see what works, And I think that's one thing I've had to learn, like last year going into this year, is you have to experiment. You can have all these tools and all this knowledge and different concepts. And that's all fun and dandy, but if you don't experiment and see what works for you, how are you going to know? But other than that, second thing, last part I got here for the little questionnaire I gave myself, I guess, is trying your best to serve others. So, I try and do that through the podcast and, the videos I make, because honestly, like I said before, here and there, I really wanted to do something that I lived, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like with music, like I was just kind of talking about shooting ops and popping pills. I'm like, bro, I don't do any of that. But that's cool. But I just think with editing videos, I have fun doing that, and I'm still giving, I'm dropping nuggets on people, dropping, oh, hey, maybe you should drink less soda, hey, you should drink maybe sparkling water or tea or coffee instead, and just relating to people, trying to, at least on a personal level, and just on a human level, because I feel like with people, they may get more popular. And I feel like the relatability that they might have had at the start just kind of vanishes in a way, you know what I'm saying? Because they're bigger and they're trying to just get the most views or get the most likes or get the most exposure, yada yada. I mean, that's fine, to each their own. But for me, let's say I blow up tomorrow or whatever, like I still want to have that same just realism, just being human. Like I would never let that just get to my head and let that get in the way of me trying to serve others. Honestly, that's where greed comes in. A lot of people get greedy and a lot of people just forget about just the power of just influencing others and just being positive and just giving people just hope in a sense, because some people may be going through dark times and you never know. You could post a video, you could say something, maybe you draw something and it just connects with them on a personal level, on a deep and a spiritual level, and I just think, honestly, in terms of purpose, I feel like we can all kind of do that in our own way, because I feel like if we can teach people things that they didn't know, and we can learn from people about things that we didn't know, that goes a long way. It kind of goes back to the legacy thing, because, when we all, the life is done or whatever, and we transition however that may look. I mean, your legacy, just what you did and how you were as a person, that's really going to stick, not, oh, he ran this time, oh, he did this, oh, he got this promotion. That's cool. It gives you goals to strive for. I'm not demonizing that at all. That's a great goal to have, but at the same time, getting attached to it may or may not lend to bad results. Last thing I just want to leave off with, going over the last part, is no one has it all figured out. You don't have to have your full life plan scheduled right this second. Honestly, this kind of, I didn't mention this, but I had it kind of in my head when I was writing down the notes. It's just, I don't know if I know my life purpose, like my final life purpose. And that's okay. It may feel a bit uncomfortable, like, crap, like, what am I going to do with my cooks? But in reality, I mean, that's fine, because I have a lot of life to live and I'm only 18. Going into high school and then you're going into college, a lot of pressure's put on you, like, oh, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be a surgeon? Are you going to be an engineer? You know what I'm saying? You're like, bro, like, I'm trying to figure things out. Like, I don't even know what I want to do. Like, I'm 16, you know what I'm saying? So I just think that pressure, that systemical pressure and that societal pressure to just figure it all out just immediately, I just think that's super unrealistic. Because, I mean, how are you going to do that? No one has it all figured out. We're all trying to figure things out, and we all learn new things every day, And I just think giving myself grace, just speaking for me personally, to just be okay with that uncertainty, you know what I'm saying? And be okay with just not having it all figured out, not having everything optimized and not having everything perfect, you know what I'm saying? Being okay with being imperfectly consistent, I guess, if you want to put it that way. That was the episode. I ain't gonna lie, I might just keep doing like just updates, just different things I want to talk about. Maybe some in philosophy pops up, I'm like, ooh, that's interesting, I'm gonna talk about it. But anyway, hopefully y'all enjoyed, and I'm gonna see y'all next time.